Did you do the intro?
You ready? You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up.
Good evening, and welcome back to After Dark, the adult relationship show. Oh my goodness, it's only been a few weeks, but we are back, and we are back in full effect. I want to welcome you this evening to the show, and we are continuing with the theme of sex. Yes, we are. However, when we left the last time, I did say that we would be talking and looking at sex toys, but we're not going to be doing that this week. There's just a few things that we need to make sure that we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. However, I do have some good news for you. The After Dark show now has an online store. Yes, it does. And it is called After Dark Pleasures, where we will be helping you to purchase adult novelty toys and lingerie. And we will also be offering you bespoke lingerie, which means one-off pieces that will be exclusive to you, maybe 3 or 4 pieces, and that's it. And those will be yours. So that is the announcement today. We're going to put the link up on the screen throughout the show. So all you need to do is go to www.yvonneMichelle.com/After Dark Pleasures. And there is a sale, an introductory sale. So go and give yourself a treat. There's lots of lovely, delightful pleasures there. So this is After Dark. So after that announcement, I just want to say welcome to those of you who are on YouTube. Welcome to those of you who are on Facebook. Whether you are on MediaNet Live TV or whether you are on Yvonne Michelle TV, welcome to After Dark. Tonight, we are going to be looking at sexual spirituality. So what I want you to do is go and grab a drink. It's a hot night, and it's about to get hotter. I want you to go and get yourself a nice, cool drink or even a cup of tea, and then sit back and relax. But before you relax, I want you to share this. Share this with all of your friends, all of your family, and even your frenemies too, because we all want to know how to express ourselves more in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, wherever we are. For those of you who are first timers like Anthony McGregor, welcome. Welcome. We hope that you enjoy tonight's show. So we have lots and lots of things to unpick and unpack tonight in terms of spiritual sexuality. We want to look at what the meaning of that is. And we have an amazing guest. We have our resident expert on the sex show as we're doing it. And I will introduce her just a little bit later. But for now, we have our fabulous panel. So, who is first in the studio? Who are we going to say good evening to first?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ruth Carter. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while, but it's great to be back.
It's good to have you back, and you're looking beautiful as always.
Thank you so much. And so are you, my lovely. So are you.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Fabulous. It's fabulous. Okay, so who else have we got in the green room?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Tony. How you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good, glad to be back again.
Great stuff. Okay, so who else have we got in our green room?
Good hey, everybody.
How are you doing?
Hi, everybody. I'm fine. How are you, Yvonne?
I am wonderful. Thank you for being here, Sheena. You look absolutely amazing this evening. Thank you for joining. Okay, do we have anyone else in the green room this evening?
Yo.
Hey, Herbie and Michelle. How are you doing?
We're good, thank you.
We're good.
Hi, everyone.
Good night.
For those of you who don't know, you've never seen the show before. Oh, we're going to be turning off those phones, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Michelle and Herbie are our resident couple that sit in and talk from a couple's perspective. Tony is a single man over a certain age. He is representing the single men. Ruth is a single female representing single females in a certain, is it okay to say, in the 40 age bracket. Sheena is in a relationship, and so she is also as a female singularly sitting here tonight, but Sheena is also in a relationship, and so it's giving a different perspective from her point of view. So who else do we have in the green room tonight?
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi, Theo.
How are
Hi,
you?
hi.
How are you doing, Theo?
Theo's got no
Well,
kids.
how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for being here. And Theo represents, he's here as a single married man. So he's very much married, but here as a single man giving his perspective also. So do we have anyone else in? Is Chastity in the... Okay, so let's take Chastity out for 1 minute. We're going to come back to you. Let's put the picture up of Chastity. This is Chastity. Chastity is our expert for this evening. Chastity is a sex therapist and has been on the show from the beginning of us discussing the sex series. So we just want to introduce her in and welcome Chastity Chandler all the way from the USA as our sexual therapist expert. Hey.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm sorry. I had a couples counseling session that ran late, so I apologize.
That's okay. You're always on time. Don't worry. So today, guys, so for those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, today we're talking about spiritual sexuality. And we want to deep dive into that, all aspects, and really look at what it is and how we can improve our sex lives. Now, and this is why I say this show is for everybody. It is for everybody, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you've got a friend with benefit, whether you've got a booty call, no matter what your situation is. This show is about you and for you to learn, grow, and expand in your sexuality and feel a sense of freedom to be free in your own right throughout in your sexuality. So, we are going to be looking a little bit at tantric sex as well. So we're going to be hearing quite a bit from Chastity tonight as our expert, because we want to know how we can improve our lives, sex lives going forward. So I've introduced everybody, but I have not introduced myself. I'm Yvonne Michelle, and I am the host of the show. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Okay, so what I know about tantric sex, we're going to start, we may as well start there. Would you say that was a good place to start, Chastity?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
Sure.
Okay, so Tantra is a Sanskrit word that means woven together. It is a Hindu and Buddhist practitioners use this sexual union of Tantra sexuology as a metaphor for getting together the physical and the spiritual, weaving humanity to the divine. It is a form of sex that is sacred, sexuality, called Tantra, and it teaches slow, non-orgasmic intercourse. Okay, that is what it is. So I know that our male sex therapist, Fidel, was on a 21-day, I don't know if you call it a retreat or a fast. I'm not quite sure what it's called. But he was on a 21-day, let's call it retreat. And Fidel's not here tonight, but he did leave a message for me, and he did say the benefits of what he found. from withholding himself from having an orgasm. So what he said was that he still had sexual liaisons, but the purpose was not to have the orgasm at the end. And he said it has given him a new and different perspective. It has made him more present in his relationships. It's moved his focus and his goal away from just having the orgasm or busting a nut, as some of the men have put it, the terminology as they've put it in previous shows. It has given him more control, he's saying, definitely more self-control and more appreciation for his partner. He said it's made it more enjoyable and he highly recommends it. The next stage for him would be how to master internal orgasm. And he thinks it's a very worthwhile experiment. So that was with him withholding himself from having an orgasm for 21 days. So before we even go into that, I want to go to the men and I want to ask them the question. Do you feel that this is something that you would like to experience? So you're still having sex, but you do not achieve busting your nut. So I'm going to go. I do want to save Tony to last, but I do want to hear what you've got to say, Tony. I really do.
I mean, he could use his elbow in that situation.
Tony's shaking his head, but
No, you got to save me till last on this one. You have to.
all right, this time, because in my spirit it's saying leave Tony till last, but I just want to hear what you've got to say. Okay, so I'm going to go to Theo, then go to Herbie, then go to Tony, and then we will bring in Chastity, and then the women will come in after that. So, Theo.
I've tried this years ago. I did it for about 10 days, and that was enough. It was enough for me. That was it. But it was very interesting because it does kind of give you more self-control over when you're having sex. You kind of more focused, and you can, I don't know, take in a bit more, kind of a bit more reflective of you, what you're doing, and be as Fidel said, be more present. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it was good. It taught me to control myself basically, so I can control when I have an orgasm or when I ejaculate, whatever it may be. So it gave me that power over it.
Okay,
because I know how to resist it.
Right. So is the mindset to resist? Just because I'm just asking, as for asking.
Yeah. So I could last longer.
Okay. So remember in the weeks prior, I mentioned about 2 pumps and a squirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I love that terminology.
so in your opinion, do you think that would help some men to hold themselves a little bit longer if they've got that issue of, you know?
Yeah, because it's like sex is in the mind, isn't it? So everything's in the mind. So if you can control that, then you can control your other part of your body. You can control different parts. It's like if you want to go toilet and you hold it and you focus on something else and you do something, you can hold it a bit longer. Mm. It's similar kind of thing.
Okay.
So I did it for about 10 days, but I was a bit too young to try. I was in my early to mid 20s, which wasn't the right time because, as everybody said, that's your height. That's at your height and prime for young men. So yeah, it wasn't a good time. So yeah, but
okay,
I got the benefits out of it.
Right. Is it something that you would try again?
Yeah.
You don't sound too sure about that.
You got to ask the wife about that one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Herbie, we're going to come over to you. Thank you for that, Thea. We're going to come over to you, Herbie. You're on mute.
Yeah, talk and nobody can hear me. Right. Okay. Now, I think to me, this practice can probably be done. I've been probably doing it over the years. As I won't say practice sex. I'm not practicing sex. You know what I mean? It's, but as I continue having sexual intercourse, I do set my mind to hold off longer. It's just practice. To me, it's just practice. As what I mean, as I go on each day, is it daily now? What
No, don't push your luck.
Yeah, but I do practice that. So I think I think it would be more of a benefit, but I think I've already kind of learned kind of the art to a certain extent. So I don't know whether doing it now and not ejaculating is gonna help me, because I do want to do that at the end. But my whole idea is to have intercourse till it kind of run its course. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep going all night. I just want to, have it so everything come to a natural sort of finish, and then in the end, I have my release. If you want to call it release, yeah. No. Yeah.
I am watching the body language. It's hilarious. Don't watching the Is it now? All right. So, thank you, Herbie. We're going to come back to you shortly. Anthony McGregor say it's harder to hold if you're drinking a lot before. It's the stop feeling that is not nice afterward. Well, okay, we'll come back to you. Right, so Tony.
God, that got around real quick. You guys didn't give me much material to work with. Was hoping for a few tips. Okay, so I have had tantric sex before, and like Theo, much earlier in my life, probably like Theo in my 20s, if I remember rightly, and probably like Theo, I probably don't appreciate it because it probably came too early in my life. Would I practice it again? Yeah, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't say it's not something that hurts or detracts from sex. So yeah, I'll do it again. And probably much like Herbie, I think with my scenario, I guess, there are natural wants and needs, and there, like there's a need to kind of ejaculate, and that need comes up ever so often, and to resist sometimes can be difficult, but being a single man and not having somebody on tap means that the time between ejaculations can be 2 days, 3 days, it can be 2 weeks easily. It's just down to me in terms of how regularly I ejaculate. But I don't feel any different when I'm not ejaculating to when I do ejaculate. So it's, for me at this stage, an interesting concept.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to thank you for that, Tony, and thank you for your honesty. I'm going to bring in Chastity now. And so some insight into what this really is on a deeper level.
I think it's really important. I'm not trained in tantric sex, but I am finishing up a certification in cosmic sexuality, which has a lot of the same principles. And I think it's really important to understand. And I know that I can't think of his name right now because he just took everybody off the screen. But sex is very much a spiritual act. And I think a lot of times we're engaging in sex and we haven't really done our own individualized work. There's lots of barriers and boundaries to pleasurable and enjoyable sex. When we take away the expectation of the ejaculation or of the end of the journey or the squirt, as Yvonne put it, it actually intensifies other things, if that makes sense. So if the focus is always on the end goal, not to mention, I remember Tony just said he doesn't have a person on tap. Lots of times, our partners feel like an object. They feel like that's their job, that's their role. When sex is more spiritually centered, it is really an experience. It's a deeper experiences. The orgasms are much more stronger, and you're much more connected to your partner or your partners. So it's a whole nother level of orgasm, of pleasure, of connection. Is most people don't reach those connections without doing this spiritual work. So whether that's a week or so as Theo did in his 20s, or Tony like I can't do it. In the training that I'm in now, the suggestion is that the man holds for a week. Not that sexual acts don't occur, but there's no ejaculation. Like that's not the end goal. It's enjoying the process, being there, being mindful, enjoying the buildup, and not wanting to release. Because it's kind of like this. Sometimes I'll have couples and I'll say, hey, or me and my partner has done it before where we abstain from sex for like a week. Even though we're in the same house, even though we're still doing life together, like just don't have sex for a week. And you will see a lot of new things occur in other aspects of your relationship. And then when you do have sex after intentionally abstaining, I'm not talking about a sexless marriage or somebody you only have sex once a week and that's just what it is. I'm saying maybe you're a person that has sex every single day, 2-3 times a day, and you guys decide that this week for 7 days, we're just not going to have sex. When you guys do have sex, it is going to be so intense, so hot, and so amazing that y'all going to probably want to put that in your regular rotation. Like it just adds a different level of spice. And so I really think there's a lot of spiritual work. We have work and problems that are tied to our relationships with our parents. Whether or not we believe it or not, it impacts our ability to have pleasurable orgasmic sex or that deeper connection that we're wanting with a partner or potential partners, because they're still, our core roots are not good, if that makes sense. So it's a whole lot that goes into when we're talking tantra or spirituality and sex, because sex is very much a spiritual act or situation. But lots of times we're not looking at it as such. I've had couples who completely and utterly view sex differently, and that's completely okay. But if I'm viewing it as just a sexual act and a release, and you're viewing it as this deeper spiritual connection, we're not even on the same page when it comes to having sex, let alone us both being able to enjoy it to its fulfillment, if that makes sense.
I hear you. So that makes what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So now I'm going to bring in the females. I'm going to start with Sheena, go to Ruth, and then we'll end with Michelle. Sheena, so from what you've ascertained there, have you tried tantric sex with your partner before?
Yeah, I have. And, to me, that's actually a good part of the relationship. The good, that part is actually where you get to explore your partner more, vice versa. And it's just about, that connection, that spiritual connection. So that is so key. So yeah, for me, tantra sex, I would say that that's been practiced a few times, and it just sort of like intensifies everything, like Chazzy was saying, and it actually brings us closer together. So yeah,
is it something that you did purposely, or is it something that you fell into? Because like, we'll just try this, or was it something you specifically set out to do?
To be honest, I've done it purposely in the beginning. Yeah, I've done it purposely in the beginning. And I think that was more through stubbornness at the time for me. Yeah, firelock kind of thing. And it was a case of where I only want what I want and you ain't getting kind of thing. So that's how it then started for me. But then as we sort of like grew closer with each other, we then realized that that was actually a good part to bring into the relationship. And I think when we have the tantra sex, it actually brings us closer together, because you still have that sexual, spiritual connection, but there's no intimacy with it. If that makes sense. It's more a case of you just like, it's all the nurturing and other things that you can do, other pleasures that you can heighten to, other pleasures that you can reach. And I just think it's good. It's kind of like give the body a break as well, and then when you are ready now, you're able to sort of like fully enjoy and engage with your partner. So yeah, that's me. That's
Lovely.
my take.
Thank you for that. And thank you for your honesty there. I'm going to go over to Ruth.
Yes, I have engaged in tantric sexual practices, and I found it was really, really good. Orgasms were high, and the spiritual growth was amazing. I even had moments where I felt that I wasn't even on this plane, but in the time where we were apart, it was a lot of conversation, a lot of intellectual conversation about where we are, what we're going through. But I found that, when you're working on yourself, you kind of work on your spiritual growth and development at the same time. It kind of goes hand in hand. You're clearing out all this emotional stuff, and it kind of allows you to be freer. And also looking at the chakras as well, and the root chakras, and making sure they're open, and kind of having a little bit of understanding, because I did a questionnaire and mine was closed. And so I realized that there were certain parts in my life where I was closed off to, but I needed to free myself. And once I became free and liberated, it was just like a beautiful flow. It's like you feel aligned in that moment. There's a lot of different energies and positive vibes happening in that experience, and it's
Thank
wonderful.
you for that, Ruth. Thank you for your honesty also. And we'll come back to you in a moment. I want to bring Michelle in. You're on.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm just listening to what everyone's saying, and I sort of feel I've come upon tantric sex in my own sort of way, and not actually knowing that that's what it is or what it was. Yeah, because like Herbie and I, when we make love and we're talking afterwards or the next day or whatever about it, I was saying to him that that same as what Ruth was saying, like my mind and how I felt was like I wasn't here, and also experiencing, and we're talking about the spiritual side of things, like even speaking in tongues, or having that emotion as a height of the whole feeling of it's I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it feels as if I'm immersed in Herbie's skin, if you know what I mean. I don't know, but that's how it feels. I can't explain it more. It's and it's not just like of the round the pubic area and that, around the vagina and all that. It's like a whole body experience, from your little toe right up to your head top, your fingertips, everything, all immersed into one. So I'm thinking whether I've sort of gone into it. Have we gone in it together?
No,
Yeah.
we do have that kind of spiritual.
Well, I'm talking about how I felt.
Yeah,
Yeah, felt inside. But yeah, that's how. Yeah, we're doing it together. But that's how I felt, and I was saying to Herbie that he doesn't understand how I felt or what I was actually feeling, because I'm wondering if it's different to the woman and the man. So just putting that out there. So yeah.
So that's the question that you're asking. Is it a different experience for the man than what it is for the woman? Right. We will come back to that. We will come back to that. We'll bring Chastity in to maybe answer that question. But I would assume I would assume that it would be different for a man, than the experience is different for a man than it is for a woman, but also being the same. And the reason why I say that is because we know that male and females are very different anyway. The experience that we have in orgasm is a different experience, a different emotion, a different feeling. So I would imagine that it runs parallel, but the experiences are different. I don't know. Would you agree with that, Chastity? Me saying that.
Yeah, the experiences are definitely going to be different because we all have our own personal journeys. We can be having sex together, but where I am mentally, spiritually, physically, and where you are mentally, spiritually, physically could be
Mm-hmm.
somewhere totally different. Some of us are still tied to or have cords
Mm.
to previous sexual partners. Some of us are still comparing what we're getting now to what we got then. Or some of us still haven't gotten over our relationships with our parents, which blocks how open and connected we can be to our partners. So, yeah, we're all somewhere different. And then, not to mention, our bodies are made different from
Yeah.
a physiological standpoint and biological standpoint. We're made different. So, sex is different for the various genders. So, absolutely, it's a different experience. Because I'm hearing Michelle say, "Oh, it was like out of this world," and Herbie's like, "It was good, but I ain't experienced that." But I'm saying that to say this: if they intentionally like learned about, took a course, read up on tantric sex, and Herbie was doing his thing and reading, and Michelle was doing her thing and reading, they would see a difference if they began to like put that all together. But if I'm more spiritually connected to my sexual self and my sexual being, and as I can't see her name now, but she was saying she was sexually liberated. If I'm sexually liberated and I'm having sex with somebody who isn't, that's a whole different experience.
Whoa.
That can also impact how well I enjoy that experience. We talk about being equally yoked from a spiritual standpoint, but we don't really talk about being equally yoked from a sexual standpoint. But I think that's a really important point. If I'm woke sexually, right, or I am way more open minded and liberated, and my partner isn't, that's gonna stifle my
Mm.
sexual enjoyment and pleasure. There's no way I can do all the things and be all the things I want to be with this particular partner if they're what's your boy say, he was vanilla? I can't remember his name right now, but if they if they vanilla and only want missionary, and I want to be tied up, whipped, and chained, like this ain't gonna work out. I might still have sex with them, and I might still feel some kind of connection, but when I'm with somebody else that's more liberated, and I'm going to be more connected to that person, I'm going to have more pleasure with that person, and I am going to feel more spiritually and sexually connected to that person, if that's the case, you know. So that's how I see it.
Coming, Tony.
Yeah, so it's interesting what you just said, Chastity, because this kind of reminds me of the conversation we were having weeks back about why men cheat. You know, it's all very well. We started this sex talk when I was explaining about the ironing board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for different men, I imagine the ironing board looks different. So as Chastity has just alluded to, you know, you might be getting your rocks off with your fella, but he's actually not getting total satisfaction, and he might ejaculate. He might think, you might think, well, he came, so I've done my job, but actually you haven't done your job really, because he's left with a feeling of, well, yeah, it was 2 pumps and a squirt. Yeah, I came, so what? I didn't really get fulfilled. And that's when, you know, you can get that miscommunication where the man's going, well, this woman just doesn't get me sexually. So guess what? There's a woman in the office and she knows how to tick that something, that little box, and all of a sudden you've got an affair. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Chastity, because I was also going to mention about the need, I believe, to be in a long-term relationship with that person, because in order to get into that spiritual side of sex, you really need to know each other's body, and you need to know each other's minds, more importantly. So typically for me, as a single man, if I meet a partner and it turns into a sexual encounter, my thought process isn't, oh, let me get into her mind. I want her to come, and I want to come. I want to have sexual pleasure. I want the sexual act to be pleasurable for both parties. Yeah. And my mind, you know, thinking back to when you first saw me and I was talking about elbows and this, that, and the other, is I'm going to make this an experience as best I can for both of us. And if that means I'm going to be using a lot of tongue and I'm using this and I'm, you know, bring some sex toys in, then I'll do that. But the ultimate goal for me is that, as Herbie alluded to earlier, is that end goal of ejaculation. Because I haven't had sex for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, I'm with a partner who is like, I haven't seen you in so long. And we go and have dinner and we come back, we get the soft lights on and we get the music playing. And guess what? I'm getting a sexual aura between me and my partner that says, let's go up to the room and let's have some sex and let's enjoy this to the best of our ability. Did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, come on, you can come in. Come on.
I was gonna say two things. Me saying that if it doesn't work with this partner, going to another partner is not an indication of cheating. There are more relationship and love styles out here than monogamy and heterosexuality. We live in a heteronormative world, so we automatically default and think everybody is monogamous and everybody is straight. So I definitely, as a sex positive ally here in the States, I gotta put that out there. There are people who have multiple partners and it's a completely consensual and ethical situation. So maybe I'm getting something from one partner that I don't get from the other partner, but it's fine because it balances itself out. I don't agree that it has to be a long-term relationship, because two people can come into a situation if they are sexually yoked or equally yoked and have enough things in common. Like there already is common ground there. They've already, again, we talked about this before, about having conversations about sex before it's time to have sex. Because too many of us are going into sexual encounters and situations blind. You don't even know what the person's needs, wants, desires are. You're going in it with the thought that I want to have a happy ending. And as Tony was saying, men leave sexual situations sometimes feeling like the woman doesn't get them and not feeling fulfilled. More times than not, though, Tony, women, we do that as well. It's harder for us to orgasm in a penetrative sex situation than it is for you. Most men are going to ejaculate and have some level of an orgasm every single time they have sex. There is women who have never had an orgasm in their whole entire life, or they've had an orgasm only from self-pleasure or stimulation. They've never had an orgasm with a partner from penile sex. So I see it all the time. And then women fake. I have no idea. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Either you putting in the work and we getting it in and you going to get that response, or you not going to get a fake out of me. Because all that does is reinforce that same behavior or those same actions sexually. And meanwhile, you think you putting it down. And meanwhile, the other person is fantasizing about somebody else or waiting to roll over and grab their toy as soon as you start snoring so they can get their orgasm in. So I think the main thing here in the breakdown between the spiritual and the sexual is communication. Too many people go into relationships. I'm gonna keep saying sexually, not sexually yoked. I'm gonna use that. I just came up with that during the show, but not sexually yoked, not on the same page. And then you're in a relationship with somebody who is so closed-minded and so opposite of you, and now you feel stuck. And here you are 25, 30 years later in this marriage or this relationship, and you ain't been fulfilled for the last 10 years. Meanwhile, you haven't said nothing to your partner. Y'all haven't done anything about it. Y'all go to church, y'all pray about it. I ain't gonna get on Theo. Theo gonna come in with the scripture and all of that stuff. But meanwhile, both of y'all are unfulfilled and unsatisfied. And maybe a physical affair has not occurred. But resentment comes into play eventually. And what am I doing in this relationship? What am I really getting out of this? Or is this the life that I signed up for? You know, we define sexless marriages and relationships are 10 or few times a year. You wouldn't believe how many people I come across that come to see me that are just not having sex. And we're talking celebrating major anniversaries, 30, 40, 50 years, and it's been 28 years since you had sex.
Yeah.
Y'all sleep in separate rooms.
And you're talking real talk right there, Chastity, because I can attest to that. In my second marriage, 16 years I was with my wife, and sex at the beginning in my I met her at 26, 25, and in the first years it was amazing. It was it was anywhere, everywhere, kitchen sink, toilet, bathroom, you name it. It was going on. It was popping. And then kids, and then just what seemed like a switch off. And I still had that sexual libido, really high libido, but she just clearly wasn't feeling the same way. And so I kind of think that there's a lot of things that affect the sexual chemistry between men and women, because sometimes it starts off at a high and it decreases. For other people, it starts off at a mid-tempo and it builds up to a crescendo where, like Herbie and Michelle have said, they can get into that, which is why I made the comment about long-term relationships. I feel in some situations are better when it comes to understanding the sexual needs and the physical, spiritual needs of one another.
Okay. So, just to go back to something that you were saying about, because I think that your sexual needs in a relationship, if we're honest, and we are all grown people, I think that your sexual desires and needs change as your relationship changes. And I think that, when at a beginning of a relationship, in most case scenarios, it's very hot, it's very passionate, it's very intense, and the sex is great because that's what is kind of like drawing you to this person even more. And then, as the period of time goes on, it kind of wades off because you start to get to know each other, and it's not, the sex may still be great, but it may not be as intense as it was when you first started. And it's especially when children come along, children change the dynamics in relationships. They really do. And I think it's up to, and those of you who've got children, you can come in as well and say, but I think, the focus, especially, I can only talk for a woman because I am a woman. And I think that after you've had children, if I go back into after I had my daughter, for a period of time, and it wasn't a conscious thing, it was unconsciously, for a period of time, it was about my daughter. It was about making sure her needs were met and all of that. And so by the time she was put to bed and everything else, and the house is done, the dinner's cooked, and all of the stuff that you have to do, you go to work and all of that. By the time you finish doing all of that, I was exhausted. And the last thing that I really wanted to do was to have sex because I wanted to sleep. And when you had a child, especially, you lose a lot, your life changes, your hormones are changing and all of those things. And so these are the things that have to be taken into consideration. Now, that being said, after that period of time was kind of got through, as you've gone through the storm, as I put it, a new wave comes, a new season comes. And then you'll get back on that thing and you start to do what you have to do with the tick. But certainly, I think that life changes you. Events in your life will change the way in which you react towards your partner. And I think a matter of patience is needed. And I'm going to, not just from the man being patient with his wife or his girlfriend, whoever, but vice versa. There has to be some patience and there has to be communication. And I think that that's why certainly some relationships don't survive, because the relationship, the communication falls down, the sex falls down. And if the sex is the thing, if the sex is the gel that has kept them together in the first place, if they're not really communicating anyway, and the way that they communicate is through sex, then there's going to be issues, and that relationship is not going to last. And the people that I have spoken to, and I am not a sex therapist, let me just say that yet. I am not yet a sex therapist, no. But I have coached, mentored many couples, many single people, and sex is something that always comes up. It's always in a conversation, and so these are the things that I pick up on. So just to say, you know, in terms of how relationships change, I think if that is an issue in the relationship where you find that you are falling by the wayside, or you're looking outside, or you're not able to communicate with your partner in the way in which you would like to or desire, I think that the tantric sex could be a way to reconnecting with each other, because it's not about the sex, it is about the spirituality of coming together rather than the act of sex. So can I go back to, I'm going to bring it, because there was a period of time that Theo was nodding his head like, yeah, because he was agreeing with some of the things that Franny was saying, weren't you, Theo?
It was the part when he was talking about, especially around about being fulfilled. When some women just think because a guy has ejaculated, he's fulfilled, he's had a great time. And as Chastity alluded to, we're gonna have, as I said before, I've said it a few weeks ago, we're gonna have a good time no matter what. But it doesn't mean that the sex was great. It just means we had a good time. She might have think that she was having a great time, but it wasn't, we weren't compatible for whatever reason. It didn't gel together. Maybe it was too rushed, whatever it may be. So that's what I was really nodding with, just saying. And sometimes in a relationship as well, maybe you have spoken and you haven't spoken, and relationships fall down because of that, because the guy or the woman, they're not fulfilled and they're going to look somewhere else. So they're having sex, might having sex regular. You could be having sex as regular as whatever, but it doesn't mean it's good. It just means you're having sex. And that's sometimes I think we kind of get confused around that. Just because we're having sex means everything's okay. The man feels good, he's relieved, but he's still going to be looking around because he's not really being fulfilled. She's not satisfying his needs, or he's not satisfying her needs, and she's going to look around, he's going to look around. A relationship breaks down. So that's what I was kind of nodding and agreeing with.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. I'm just reading a comment that doesn't really make any sense to me.
Herbie wants to say something, Yvonne.
Because I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, Yvonne, yeah, just going back to what you're saying about communication, I think Charity said it as well. It's key. I mean, Chastity, sorry. Me and Michelle, we talk a lot, and sometimes you got the spiritual side of the relationship, and sometimes because of, I said, you know, having children or just women just going through different changes in life, things change, and their mood change, their appetite for sex, let's say, will change. And you notice this, if you're communicating, you kind of feel that kind of vibe, you know what I mean? You know, things ain't quite right, you know, and you ask the question, you know, you say like, what's wrong, what's happened here? And then, you know, Michelle might explain, well, look, I'm feeling this way, or whatever. It's not that she's gone off me, not that, you know what I mean, things, it's just that sometimes just the body chemical, you know what I mean, just the, you know, the things have changed, the hormones change, and, you know, and we talk about it. See, I'm a man, like Yvonne was saying, yeah, that the sex wasn't really, it's not gel of the marriage or relationship. So if it is that I have to abstain, or just say, okay, you know what I mean, we just ease off for a little while, it's not a problem, you know what I mean? Because I know that he's coming back, you know. That's the hope anyhow. Yeah, but I just ease off, and then, you know, let Michelle have her time, you know what I mean, and then we're back on it again. But it's knowing that, Because some men, I believe, would just feel like, boy, you know what I mean, you're not interested, whatever. Don't talk about it, and then do what they need to do.
Okay,
Mm.
Thea,
But yeah, sorry,
thank
that's
you for
my.
that, Herbie. I love what you said. Thea had his hand up. Thea, did you want to come in?
Yeah, just to carry on what Herbie's saying about men. I know some guys will take that personal, that the woman doesn't want to sleep with them. They take it as a blow to their ego, and she's gone off them. She might be seen. I know some guys, they get jealous over that. They will say, "Oh, she must have an ex-man," whatever scenario they've created in their head, and it will sometimes destroy a relationship because of that. So a lot of guys have an ego when it comes to, especially when it comes to sex. From a lot of guys, that's their thing. You know, we're as from young, we're kind of groomed to be a sexual being. We're supposed to be studs. We're supposed to be, you know, ready, ever ready. You know, tang panit lang, champion, this, that, whatever it may be. So we go around that, we're braggadocious. If you get a bunch of men together, if you like hear the conversations, it's about who's done this, especially when we're younger as well. And Tony can allude to this. When you're younger and you got men, it's about how many your conquests, how long, the whole nine. So when a woman turns around and says to you, no, or I'm not in the mood, or I'm not, you know, not the right frame of mind, it can affect some guys. Some of these guys, it affects them. Me, I'm cool, but some guys, it affects them in a big way. They take it personal. You know, I've known some guys to hit a woman because of that, because she's not, you know, satisfying him. He's not getting his when he wants it, and whatever it may be. Even though he's got 10 other girls out the road, this one, Thursday's your day. You're not giving it to me. You must have a next man, and yeah. So I'm fully aware of that. So yeah. So some of the times the guys, sometimes that's why there's abuse and all that in relationships.
That's a fair point, Theo. I see Chastity has her hand up and Ruth has her hand up. So Chastity, then Ruth, come in your comment.
I was just gonna say, you know, what Herbie said, what Theo said, it just kind of resonates with, we're talking about tantra, we're talking about spirituality, and we are in fact all sexual beings. Everybody is a sexual being, and I think a lot of this is we have to break that stigma. We have to change the conversation and the mindsets that we have around sex. So many people are sheltered sexually, or we're told not to do things. I remember I had a student one time who her grandma told her, if you kiss, you're going to get pregnant. Now this lady is full grown, got a whole ass husband. I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss. Got a whole ass husband and still can't kiss because she's traumatized by the thought of what kissing will bring about. And so I think a lot of it is really, and as far as the man and the ego and the this and the that, I mean, we gotta get our EQs up, right? We always thinking about IQs and bank accounts, but our emotional intelligence. Again, when we're looking for a partner, we got to be thinking about these things. And I'm saying this because I spent 3 years in a relationship with someone whose EQ was super low, which impacted my connection in every way other than sexual. Does that make sense? Like, we have to really look at the things that are important to us. Most women, not all, but most of us are sapiosexuals. We need the mental stimulation in order to be fulfilled sexually or even want to engage sexually. So we're focusing on sex, and sex being the problem, whether it isn't happening or is happening, or how good it is or how good it ain't. But as a sex therapist and a couples counselor, what I can tell you is oftentimes if the sex is off, it's because there's other things in the relationship that are off. If somebody is having sexual dysfunction, oftentimes I can almost definitely pinpoint it back to problems in the relationship. This person is performing sexually fine on their own or with somebody else. They just can't perform or finish with you. So the problem isn't them. The problem is the relationship. And sometimes we are alluding, we use the kids as an excuse. We use being tired as an excuse. We use having headaches as an excuse. We use all of these things to be the real reason why we're having issues instead of looking at the real issue. Think about how compatible you was with this person before you married them, or before you decided to get in this long-term relationship. Did you know what your sexual needs, wants, and desires were? Were you open about your fantasies with your partner before y'all got married? I don't know why people think when you get married or you get in this committed relationship that these things are just going to change and they're just going to shift, because that's not how it works. And we're saying till death do us part, and we're saying forever, but understanding that especially if you got together young, men are in their sexual prime earlier, we're in our sexual prime later, and you learn and discover things tremendously different. I was a serial monogamous until about a year and a half ago. Now I'm polyamorous, and my mind is open to a lot of other things. I mean, I have multiple partners right at this moment, but that's a different level of openness. That's a different comfortability with my sexual self. I've evolved from who I was sexually when I was married, 10 years ago, than who I am right now today. As you should evolve in general. I don't know why we don't think sexually we're not going to evolve as well. So you need to be with somebody that you can openly communicate these things to, and be able to explore that. Is it going to stop somebody from cheating? Absolutely. Nothing's going to stop somebody from cheating if they want to cheat. I don't care what nobody say. You can be doing all the bells and whistles and spinning from the rooftop. It does not matter if that's not what that person wants or if they have an intention. So I think we got to be very much more intentional in our relationships, especially when we become parents. We typically are focused on our kids. We focus on our careers. We didn't even think about our partner. They're a regular part of our everyday life, and we just expect them to always be there. And you got to feed the relationship. People ask me all the time, what's your biggest piece of advice to couples? And I say date night is cheaper than marriage counseling. It really is. But being intentional and spending time together. What do you guys have in your relationship outside of sex? Where are areas that you can actually strengthen that? Because believe me, if the intimacy increases, the sex will increase, the passion will increase, the openness to want to do the things will increase, the pleasure will increase. It will overall, all around, you will have a happier marriage, relationship, partnership, whatever it is for you. But so many people have repressed what their real needs are. They have never verbalized it out loud for fear of judgment of others, or maybe it goes against what their spiritual beliefs are. But we got to begin to really embrace who we are, what we want, what we need, because if that's not being communicated, if you can't even accept who you are, what you need, how can your partner even begin to fathom that?
Absolutely. Ruth, come in. Absolutely. Everything's spot on, Chastity. Absolutely agree with everything that you've said. Ruth, come in.
Yeah, likewise, Chastity. Likewise, on point. Because it is about the communication part of that communication. And Theo, the things that you were mentioning, as you was talking, it kind of made me reflect on some of the lower vibrations when we're looking at abuse, which is the completely opposite of the spiritual aspect of when you are with that partner, your husband or not. I'm a single person over the age of 40. So now at this time, even though we've had lockdown, picking a partner or getting involved with anyone new, I'm looking at other aspects. Spirituality is one of them, connection, but also talking about my spiritual wants and desires, and as well as knowing theirs and whether I can fulfill them or not. And I think it is something that we need to talk about a lot more. And I'm finding that people don't, especially if during this lockdown period, you've got people who are married, should be spending time with their wives, and they're trying to ask you questions. I ain't got time for that. And it's just an absolute no. I don't give a toss. I said to Yvonne today, even if the end of the year comes and I don't have no sexual interaction with anyone, so be it. You know, I had to sleep downstairs for a week just to sort out my bed after I'd finished. So I do keep up with my own practices, but I would like to get involved with somebody who's on that level. But it takes communication. It takes for me to talk about what it is that I want. Yes, I have the awareness of who I am, what I like and what I desire. And then if you feel that's hardcore, then I need someone who's hardcore, who's on that level, who wants to engage in those kinds of things. Because you talk about fulfillment, well, then say what it is that you want to be fulfilled in. Because there are lots of people out there that want to fill those desires. I am a single person and I need those things done and sorted. And I'm communicating, I'm talking, I'm saying it. And some people just can't reach the mark, which is fine, because I've got to pick who comes into my bubble. And Do you know what I mean? Life is changing.
Okay, so hold on, just before I bring Tony in, I just have to explain because we have people here who are from all over the world. So just to explain where we are in the UK, we have to, if you are single, you have to have somebody in your bubble. What this bubble is, I don't know, but you have to have, in order to be having sex with someone during this COVID period, you have to put somebody in your bubble. That person then is then allowed to come and visit, and you are allowed to have sex. So this is why Ruth is talking about her bubble.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what kind of foolishness this thing is. I don't get it, right? But this is the stipulation that the UK government have put on people, single people in particular. Don't want single people having sex.
Seriously, lock off.
They want to lock us down. So because of that, we have After Dark Pleasures. Look at that plug. Look at it. It just goes in really smoothly. After Dark Pleasures, it is a site. It's an online store that sells sexual delights. Oh, yes. Delightful stuff for men and for women. Not only are we selling sex toys, but we are doing lingerie, and there will be more bespoke lingerie coming in the next couple of weeks, and there will be branded After Dark Pleasures vibrators as well. Oh yes, we are going fully in, fully ham. We're not leaving any stone unturned. We are going in. So that's so that was a nice little plug. And if you are interested, the website is on the bottom of the page. Do go to yvonnemichelle.com/After Dark Pleasures and go and order yourself some delightful toys. Tony, coming.
So, what I've been listening to has made me think, are we as, and I guess this is to chastity, are we as human beings and creatures of habit to a degree, are we locked into our best experience of sex and none else can ever really, we're always going to look out for that best experience? The reason I say that is per se that, okay, so I met a person once upon a time and we had like unbelievable sex, and it lasted a decent while, couple of months. And unfortunately, she was based in the States and I was based in England. But for the period we was together, it was amazing. And we did everything. We did, you know, there were no, you know, it was just a natural. You know, when you get that natural, like, pull your pants down. I need you right here, right now. Boom, we're on it. And it felt good. Do we as adults, as we grow older, still long for that same experience? Does that imprint of our best sex then become the standard by which we then bear all others? That's my question.
I think every experience is different. Every experience is different and it should be treated as such. So like, to go back to what you said about a long-term partner having greater and deeper connection and you're thinking the sex is going to be more passionate. Okay, that might happen, but I can also talk to somebody, get to know them for 3 to 6 months, and the first time we have sex, I can have the biggest orgasm of my life because the connection with that person was deeper than the person I was with for 20 years because we didn't have those conversations. I was not sexually mature enough to be open to the real things that I wanted, or I lacked the experience or the know-how of where to go get it from. You know, Ruth is talking about self-pleasure. Yvonne plugs her website and people immediately start talking about sex being shame. Again, it's a mindset shift, right? Sex is a whole natural part of us. We are sexual beings. It's a natural part of our life cycle. It's expected. We now know it's not just for procreation. It can be for pleasure. You have to understand that the basis of sex, I mean, I can go on and on and on about the history of this, that, and the other, but I guess what I'm basically trying to say is each experience is different. So if you go into each experience with the mindset that this is a different experience, right? I wake up every morning and all I want to do is learn one new thing every day. One new thing every day. If I learn something new today, today has been an amazing day. I go into tomorrow with that same mindset. What can I learn new today? And I'm not just talking about sex, I'm talking about in general. If we focus on, I can't keep dwelling on the sexual experience from the one dude 10 years ago. And matter of fact, when you hook back up with the dude from 10 years ago, it won't be that good no more. That's just how it works. It's just how it works. It's not going to be like it was 10 years ago. You're not going to, as Michelle said, that from the toe to the top of the head experience again. You're going to be like, damn, I wish I would never circle back to this. This is a complete waste of time. Because now you had all those expectations that it was going to be the same. But guess both of y'all have grown. Both of y'all have, had new experience. So I'm going to say no, Tony. You should not keep having that standard of that experience. You should be like, oh, I wonder what woman I can meet now and what experience I can have with them. Because maybe they don't just drop down and tell you to take your pants off. But maybe it's still a very intense and an out-of-body type of experience. It might be a deeper sexual experience than you've ever had because that person may be a little bit more sexually woke even than that woman that you was dating and the sex was amazing. So I think it really is, every situation is its own experience and everybody is somewhere different. I can respect where someone is. Like Ruth said, if this is what I'm into and that's not a good thing for you, then let's just not even go there. Like, why do we even need to keep talking and then actually have sex? And we already know what I like, what I want is not what you want. It's like the one dude that was on here that says he only like missionary, he only like vanilla, he ain't want nothing to do with the toys, nothing to do with this, nothing to do with that. I can never date him. I wouldn't even engage in conversation with him. What's the point? It's a complete waste of time. So I'm saying we have to know our non-negotiables. A lot of times we put ourselves in situations that's going to set us up to be unsatisfied. We put ourselves in situations that we were doomed from the very beginning. If I know I'm sexually open-minded, I can't date nobody that's vanilla. Been there, done that, complete waste of time. No need of going down that road anymore. If I'm poly or I'm bi or I'm straight or I'm trans, say that up front. If it's safe for you to say it up front. That way, if that's not their dish, then I know not to even go down that road. Like if you don't agree or accept who I am wholeheartedly and at my core, what's the point? But no, we got to give it a try. We're going to have sex with them once or twice just to see and then be disappointed and talk trash about it. That's a complete waste of time.
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree. I don't have time for that. Sorry. I just don't have time for and this is why it's so key to have these conversations. I don't have time for that. You know, have the
so I would like to ask a question of you, Yvonne, because if we go back the many weeks when we originally started this conversation, you and I had that conversation in relation to giving a brother a second chance. Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
How do you now feel about your viewpoint on that scenario based on what we've now learned about the pre-conversation to sex?
My stance is the same, because and I will say it like this, because where I am now in my life is not where I was like 5 years ago. Obviously, I've grown and changed. But for me, I'm a very open person. So I'm having the conversation before. Friendship is really paramount for me. I'm not opening up my foot just like that. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing that. So, and guys, you're just gonna have to get used to my terminologies, yeah? So when I'm saying opening up my foot, I mean having sex on the first date, the second date, the third date. I'm not doing that, right? Friendship is key. I like to feel confident, comfortable with that person and know them on a level, because you see, the one thing that I know is success leaves clues, right? And so do John Crow as well. Everything leaves clues, right? So if the man is no good, he's going to drop those clues anyway from his personality. You can't keep it up long. So when I say I'm not prepared to give a man a second chance like that, I'm not. Listen, we are grown folk and we are not rushing into this sexual liaison. It's slow. It's easy. It's nice. It flows. If the man, where I'm saying, if there is no connection, if the man is just like this and he's done, he's not getting a second chance. I'm sorry. I'm done with that. Because
But should he have even have got to that point if he hasn't connected spiritually with you by?
No, he won't. He wouldn't get to that point.
That's what I'm thinking.
Back in the day, yes, I will say yes. That's happened. Gonna be honest. Yeah, like the man, how he looks, what he's saying, and taking the man at face value rather than actually getting to know the person, right? But where I am now in my life, for him to get there, I don't know how he would get there, to be honest. I don't know. But if it did happen in the scenario that you've given me, if a man's coming and he's just this and it done, 2 pumps and a squirt, you're not getting a second chance to 2 pump and a squirt me. Sorry. No.
You make yourself sound so unavailable. Like, I cannot find a man who can match me mentally. I know someone said in the group about them there being a sapiosexual. There's plenty of men out there, I'm sure, that can feed your mind. You know,
I mean, of course. You never ask me if I'm dating. You never ask me if I'm talking to anybody. I'm talking generally.
Yeah.
So if you're asked, you've got to go specific. So what I'm saying is a general question. If a man is coming like this with me, no. If a man is talking to my mind and we can converse and we can talk, he will have my attention all day long. If he has that level of conversation. But not every man does. There are some men that do. And the men that do will have my time. And that's how I stay. And I will then progress and we will learn and we will talk. And I will ask a man. I will up front and ask a man. I'll not ask a man. I'll say to him, and this is what I like. Can you meet me where I am? Can you meet me there? If the man said, well, I'm going to do them thing, you know, I'm not even trying it. Bye. See ya. Because I don't see the point of, why am I going to put myself in a situation where I know that you can't please me. I know my body. I know what I like. I know what makes my body sing. Women say sing, you know, sing beautiful symphonies. And so
I've heard you sing. You've got a beautiful voice.
Thank you. Thank you. So you could imagine at the pinnacle times of those moments when the spirit is right. Michelle said, you know, you're speaking in tongues. Listen, there's a form of a different kind of language when you are connected spiritually, when you are connected sexually, and you hit that point. I'm telling you, the music, the symphony that comes from a woman with the man that they make themselves together as an orchestra is absolutely incredible. So when I'm talking in this way, you will know that where I have gone in my life, in my orgasms, is to a height. It's high. So any man out there who look me, you better know, say you better have highness in your structure. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it as it is, because it is a spiritual connection for me. And if the spiritual connection is not there for me, we're not going nowhere. We're not having anything. And you're not getting past high. That's it. It has to be a spiritual connection for me. Where I am right now in my life, it has to be.
What about for you, Ruth? What does that look like for you?
Hi, Tony. Yeah, I'm along the same lines in the terms of I'm looking for that long-term partnership, like I had mentioned, but to grow with someone. I want to get to know someone's spirit, their soul, want to have a connection. That woven experience that Michelle sounded like, that coming together in that moment. Yeah, I want that. But I want it, and you can have that even on a little quickie. That can happen because the energy and the connection is just right. Boom, we're in it. Yes, nice. everyone's happy. Everyone's going about their day feeling energized and refreshed. So yeah, if you're coming to me, we've got to have on that spiritual level, good vibes, you know, working on ourselves continually, because I'm not at the end of the journey. Someone who wants to learn and, you know, share the right desires and not be too shy, a bit of a geek, you know, have some intelligence in some area or expertise in some area, mastery in some area in life that you can share, teach others, want to leave a legacy, just the same like what I'm
Makes
doing.
sense.
Tony, so how do you feel about what we've said? What has that speared in your mind in terms of your thoughts?
So it's an interesting conversation, because obviously you know, the three of us, yourself, Ruth, and I, have been on this from day one, and we've kind of seen we've explored all of the different elements that have taken place in our lives with relation to finding a partner. And you know, we get to this juncture today where we're talking about spirituality, and it makes me then think back to when we originally started these conversations. We weren't talking about sexual spirituality. We weren't talking about that sapiosexual energy that needs to exist before you engage in sex. We were just literally talking about finding a partner. So you know, it's an interesting conversation, and I think, you know, we're all different, you know, and I'm interested to hear what you said, because I was kind of always thinking, like, you know, Yvonne, you've made it so clear about this fella who's a 2 pumps and a squirt, and I'm like, really, what kind of guy is that? You know, how are you getting involved? A lovely woman like yourself, a beautiful creature who sings so harmoniously. How does one end up with a guy who's that kind of mentality? Because surely, in my mind, I can't get with a woman like that. I cannot get with a woman who's an ironing board, because my mentality is I'm already engaged in such a level of discussion and understanding with this person that before I get into the case of saying, you know what, come back to my place, I've already understood that, you know what, we've got something chemistry going on sexually, physically. You know, there's all kinds of things that give me, like, you know, we were talking before about red flags. You know, I can't get with a person if I haven't already checked for all the red flags. Mm-hmm. So by the time I get this person into my boudoir and I'm ready to wine and dine and do and don't and get me elbow grease on, as Chastity says, yeah, I already kind of feel like, yeah, this is going to work. This is going to be good sex when it happens.
Okay. So I just want to address something, because, you know, something sitting on this as the host of the show, one of the things that you guys have to realize is it is not my job to agree with you. It is my job to put things out there so that it creates conversation. And some of the things that I say is not about me personally. So I may say a general comment. And 2 pumps and a squirt is something that has been said to me for many, many years. I never said I experienced it. I just used the terminology. So what I'm saying to you, Tony, is you can't take everything that I say as me personally, right? And just to say this, that I am a sapiosexual, so I like men who are intelligent. I like conversation. And if you have been watching this show, or you are around me in any shape or form, you will kind of get to know that, because I'm a talker. I like to talk. And so for a man to approach me, he has to be able to have good conversation, first and foremost. If a man can't string a sentence together, he's not getting the time of day with me at all. I don't have time for it. You guys know how busy. I don't have time for it. So what I'm saying is the spiritual side of it. I'm a very spiritual woman, very spiritual. And if you know me personally, you would know that. And so for me, when we are talking, I'm kind of like, I say things, I put things out there, because this is a chat show. This is a show to get people thinking. And there are men out there who offer that 2 pumps and a squirt, and they think they're great, because women, remember, I'm a coach, I'm an empowerment coach. So women talk to me all the time about different scenarios. And so they talk to me and they say, oh, my partner, it's like, he come in and, I get everything ready and everything's nice. And then when it comes to it, it's just like two pump and a squirt. And I'm like, really? Okay. So please just, and then I may advise and so please, you know what I mean? When I'm talking, just know that I host the show. So I have to be kind of like over here, and create the conversation. That's all. Chastity, come in.
I had two things. I think Yvonne and Tony should go on a date, but that's just my thought process right
We've
now.
been on a
But
date
anyways,
before. We had a virtual
that's
date
mine.
at the beginning of lockdown. We're talking.
Okay. The second thing I was gonna say is Tony said that you guys were on a quest to find a relationship or find a partner. I think the ultimate goal should be on a quest to find and be connected to a deeper and a more conscious you. If you are working on you, the person that you are manifesting will appear. If you're focusing only on that person and not on you being prepared and ready to receive that person is not going to come, or they're going to come and you're going to miss them. So I think when we shift our focus to maybe working on ourselves, whether that be spiritually, sexually, mentally, physically, emotionally, or all the things, right? Because we've all been in relationships. Some of us on here are divorced. We've been in other relationships. Like, what did you learn? What was the lesson that you learned out of that? How did you grow as a partner, as a man, as a woman, as a dad, as a mom? So I think if we shift our focus and we really focus on working on ourselves and getting ourselves to a really good place, and we talked about this when the other sex therapist was on, working on us and manifesting whatever it is that you desire in a partner, I believe that will appear. And until you're ready or until you've done the work, it either will not appear or you will miss out on it. So instead of being on the quest to find a partner, be on a quest to be the best partner you can be. So when you find that person or that person finds you, you guys won't miss each other. It'll be a good fit, if that makes sense. We focus way too much on the other person or persons instead of focusing on ourselves. And after every relationship, we really need to take some time to reflect on that. There's something that happened. There's something I did that contributed to this relationship not being successful or continuing. But we look at Yvonne and the needs that she has and the wants that she has. Yvonne is very secure in who she is as a person. It sounds like Yvonne has done the work. I don't know Yvonne, but it sounds like Yvonne has done the work. And so when you get to that point and you get into that position, you really don't have the time for people who still need to do the work. Shell said that there's a difference between being a man and being a male. And I was raising my hand for a while on that. That is huge. We have too many emotionally immature boys out here posing as men that really need to do the work because they're leaving a string of heartbroken women or partners that could have completely been avoided. So I think we really got to take time to work on self. Once you work on self, then you can worry about being somebody's partner or even do some work together. But we talking about being equally yoked and we talking about being on the same level. And we're typically getting into relationships with people that there's a complete mismatch to begin with on multiple levels. And then we wonder why it didn't work. So like I say, take a look at self. There's a reason why you guys are single. And maybe in being single, there's nothing wrong with being single. I'm technically single right now. There's nothing wrong with being single. You can have fun in your singleness. You can have amazing orgasms and sex in your singleness. And you can have a lot of mental stability and freedom in being single. Use your singleness to your advantage. How can you be and grow into a better person and potential partner for somebody? And now what did you learn from your last relationship? What do you know that you do want and you don't want? And don't waver on that. We waver way too much on our non-negotiables. And then we wonder why the relationships don't work. You knew from the very beginning he or she couldn't hold a conversation. You knew from the very beginning that they were vanilla and had a closed-mindedness. Like, why even put that energy and time into that situation if it's already not in alignment with what you want, need, and desire? So I say, do the work individually, so you can be prepared to be a partner. The question is, would you marry you? Like, really think about it. Would you marry you? And be honest with yourself. If that answer is no or maybe, then you still got some work to do. And even if you say, yeah, you would, you probably wouldn't if it was the opposite and that was the potential partner.
That is a good question. Absolutely good question to ask. I'm going to bring in some comments from the Facebook thread we've got here. I did have some. There was one from Lorraine that was saying about having the conversation. She needs that, and Faye was saying she is a genuine sapiosexual. Lorraine Bailey said, meet someone who, where's it gone again? Meet somebody who you are connected to mentally and on the same frequency. You will have the best sex ever. Best sex isn't always in the past. You might not have had it yet. Faye Green is saying she'd rather do without. Shell Williams is saying, Tony, the offer is still open. Strap on is a new experience. Let's explore a new world together. I think still.
Listen, I'm very explorative, very explorative.
Go on and get that
I think
elbow
you guys
grease.
know me.
Tony, go on and get that elbow grease.
Exactly, but there's some places. Shell, no, my friend, I love you as a friend, but you ain't getting that.
He's not up for it. Dunstan says, yeah, it's always about the connectivity. Sometimes two people are just on the same wavelength. We've got some really good comments coming in. Valerie Mitchell saying, friendship is everything. Lorraine is also saying, I wouldn't even sleep with you if we've not formed a friendship first. Saying that now, I'm 48, I might try a one-night stand. So Lorraine Bailey, Lolly Bailey saying she has never had a one-night stand, but at 48, she might give it a try. Hold on. Chastity, Tony is checking out the prospects. Okay. Right. So Delroy Tulloch says, what if, right, I think this is a question to me directly. What if he says he don't know you that well, and what he asks you to do, if he asks you to do, hold on, something you don't agree with because you don't know him well, Yvonne? Well, if I don't know you, you're not having that conversation. And if I don't know you and you're bringing that conversation, I'm going to ask you, why are you bringing that conversation? Do I know you from anywhere? Because I'm quite feisty when I'm ready. You can't just step to me like that. You have to know me. You have to spend time with me to get to know me, to have those conversations. Yes, I'm an open person. Yes, I will freely and openly talk about sex. But you have to get to know me first. You can't just meet me and say, why? Me like, well, you can say it, me like, you can say that all you like, but you're not going to get a result out of it. I can guarantee you that. But then it's like me walking up to a man and just saying, drop your pants. Let me see what you got. How about that? How about that?
Yvonne, I can see you doing that.
I would, actually.
I can see you doing that.
You know, that's an embedded command, right, Yvonne?
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, I'm saying I wouldn't go up to a stranger and say that. But if I know you to, like, say for instance, Tony, because Tony's single, I would not say any of the men here because they're not single, so I wouldn't disrespect their partners in that way. So Tony's single, and if the relationship was different, I might turn around and say to Tony, drop your pants. Let me see what you have. Let me see what you got. Sit down. But yeah, I might.
We've been there already. We've been there already.
Enough to do that. I'm confident enough in my own womanhood to do that. But for me to say to you to drop your pants, that means that it's on. I'm just saying, because I'm not going to tell you to drop your pants if I'm not interested. Does that make sense? So yeah, so I'm very open. I'm a woman of the world. I'm shy to a degree, but not shy. If I want something, I'm going to go for it. And I think you guys can see that in everything that I do. You can see that. But we're talking about the spirituality of things. So I'm looking for somebody that is spiritual and has that. We connect spiritually before anything else. Before anything else.
What does that look like, though, Yvonne? Can I just ask?
What does that look like? That means that we have lots in common, that we are able to talk on a level on many, many different spiritual topics. So from God to the spirituality between human to human. So that's what that would look like. It would look like, we get on, we are in tune with each other. That's what it would look like to me. There are
So
many.
Sorry, I was going to say, does that potentially look like a list?
No, it doesn't. Because I know that's when you want to go to the listing, but no, we're not going to.
No, that's fine.
No,
that's fine.
Yeah,
it's not. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, it's about the person's personality rather than, oh, has he got a job? Has he got a car? Because those things are material. It's deeper than that. It's about the person, their heart, their spirit, their mind, how they think, how they process things. That's what I'm looking at. And that's why I say I'm a safe sexual. I like intelligent men. I like to have conversations. I don't have conversations about stupidness. I don't have time for that. But if it's a conversation, then yes, I will have the conversation that's going to enlighten and empower and engage. That's what I'm into. So, and that brings us right back to the spirituality of that. I would love to be with somebody that sex was not on the agenda, that we could lay together, touch each other, and sex was not a part of that agenda. Because there are men out there like that. So when he comes, excuse the expression, but when he arrives, every word is the same, when he comes into the vicinity of my presence, then that will be an awesome moment, because it will not be about busting a nut. Do you know what I mean? And he can go in the bar, he can go and bust a nut elsewhere. As long as I don't know he's busting a nut, I don't care. Because for me, it's about something else.
Ouch.
It's about something. It's deeper than that. And wow. To be fair, I think we should all try it. Before we even, those of us who are single, I think that we should when we meet that person, that we should do the tantric stuff before we even have sex. That sex is often we just get to know each other in a spiritual way. Once, the process of, you like this person, the person likes you. I think it would be a good practice to try. Nobody's not agreeing with me.
No, I think that there are people. I mean, I've done that before. I've talked to somebody to get to know them and spend time with them for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before we even remotely go to actually having intercourse. Do we talk about it? Yeah. Does it get hot and heavy? Yeah. But I also think that there are a lot more principles to Tantra than we're talking about. Meditation, breathing. There's so many other things that are a part of that process. And then spirituality, I love when Tony asked Yvonne, and when he asked you that question, what does that look like? Because guess what? What that looks like for you looks different than it looks like for me, looks different than it looks like for Tony. So I think that that's a really important point. All of these things are subjective. So understanding just because I see it one way or I think about it in one way doesn't mean that my partner, my potential partner or partners are going to see it that way. And that's why that communication is so important. But that's also why that self-evaluation I think that's why that self-evaluation is so sorry, I was in another thing on trying to get on the Facebook group and I heard you, so I stopped talking. But I think that's why that self-evaluation piece is also important as well. Because if I know me, and I mean, experience tantra on your own. You could do semen reduction on your own as a male. You can do bridging on your own as a male. Women, we can do the same exact thing. We can stimulate ourselves to the point of orgasm and not allow ourselves to orgasm. We can see what that looks like. We gain more control. It also can help you last longer, withstand. I know we've talked about 15 minutes. We've talked about 4 hours. We through the course of this whole thing, we've talked about a whole lot of things. But that's also how we end up being on the same page sexually. Having mixed match libido or desire discrepancies is a very common thing in couples, especially as you stay in a relationship for a long period of time, especially since men and women fluctuate and when they're at their sexual prime. So like you can have a partner who ends up in a car accident and becomes a paraplegic. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have sex. Just how you have sex now will look differently. So I think we also have to be open-minded to sex not just being what we've had in the past, but being open to new experiences. And I think that is like extremely, extremely important.
It is. It is. And as you said, anyway, I don't need to disclose that. Let's move on. Because I was going to disclose something and I just thought, nah, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. But I will say that as Chastity said, do it in your singleness. Try the tantric sex, the sex with yourself. And I can say that I have recently, and it was wonderful. Oh yes, I had the board by myself, with myself. It was wonderful. Okay, so let us move on from that place. So, Shell says, I keep attracting these weak-ass men. Sometimes I believe my vagina is in my forehead, so I won't be dating for the next 2 years. That's what Shell says. Okay, next comment. Tisha Brady saying, I would love that real connection, Yvonne Michelle. Lorraine Bailey, yes. Oh, hold on. It's moving too slow.
Shell, you get what you put out. So if you put out the wrong energy, you're gonna get the wrong energy back.
Who says her energy is wrong though? Who says?
I don't know, but she's.
I think
Well,
I love Shell. I don't know Shell, but I love Shell. Shell is sexually free and liberated, and guess what? One day she's gonna meet a partner that's gonna be her match, and they're gonna have amazing sex in a relationship, and they're gonna live happily ever after.
I
Shell,
hear that.
Self, do not try to water Shell down.
I don't want to water her down. I love her as she is, but you gotta sometimes look at yourself. If you haven't been in a relationship for 10 years and then you find yourself saying, I don't want to be in a relationship for another 2 years, that's 12 years. Me personally, I couldn't go 6 months without a woman in my life. So, call me old fashioned, but 12 years without a man, something tells me look at myself.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Tony. Are you assuming that she hasn't had male partners in the 12 years, or she just has a monogamous relationship for 12 years? Because those look totally different. I'm just saying, me saying I haven't been in a relationship for 12 years doesn't mean I haven't had somebody in my life for 12 years.
Right.
Or multiple people in my life over 12 years. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I get it. I hear you.
That's very, very true.
I mean, and I know Shell don't need me to come to her defense. I'm just simply saying, people who are sexually secure in themselves and free, we look at that as being a bad thing. And I just don't want to co-sign that being negative energy. She understands who she is as a sexual being, and I think that that's liberated. Will it narrow down her prospects where you guys are from? Possibly. It can narrow down my prospects here. I'm a sex therapist. I speak openly about sex all the time. I've written books, writing more. Like, the man's going to have to be secure in who he is in order to step with me, to be with me, or whatever. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to water myself down. The person for me is out there. And when they find me or I find them, we'll be great. That's just kind of how that works. But it doesn't. Tony, let me show you.
Right. So, Tony, there's shag with a strap on. Free me, Tony.
You see what I'm saying?
You see, Tony?
I just said it.
You walked right into that, Tony. You walked right in.
Oh,
to
bless
that.
her soul.
She said,
Yeah,
she
but
wants
you know
to
what?
free her.
She said she wants to put it on and put it up my behind, but she doesn't want somebody to do the same back to her. So that's why I'm saying, put out the energy you want to receive to yourself. So if she wants to give it, she should be able to receive it. Yeah? But then
Oh,
she probably decides, you know what, I want to give and receive. Then she'll probably give and receive.
so what I'm hearing you say, Tony, is if she'll take it from you, you'll take it from her.
No, I'm saying that I'm not the person she should be talking to, but when she does find that person
I
she
mean,
should
if
be
you're gonna
talking
stick that
to,
shit, it's going by it, bro. If you're gonna stick that with it,
Yeah,
That's what we're hearing, Tony. That's what
listen,
we're
even
hearing.
Mr. P's on it. Mr. P said, you asked for that, Tony. You asked for that. Mr. P was in the mix. Yes. And he said,
Oh,
Tony, you asked for that.
I love the banter. I love it. I
Yes.
love it.
Good to see you, Mr. P. We miss you. We are bringing you back. You're coming back anyway. We're going to make sure you come back anyway. So that's funny. That's funny, Tony. If you take it, she might let you have it and all. Listen. Yeah.
Oh dear.
You guys are hilarious, right? So there's a message. There was a message. Is it Dunstan? There was a message up there. Dunstan says, has anyone mentioned the importance of fitness in the sexual arena? In so much as if one person exercises regularly, it's likely they would appreciate someone with a decent amount of fitness and energy. Plus, someone who is fit may be put off by someone who is not in shape, especially as we get older. Thank you for that statement. Does anyone want to come in and answer that? Oh, and now Pierre is saying, yes, fitness is important when it comes to sex.
I'd say that that's more of a preference than an importance. Because you can be hitting the gym 5 days a week and still be 2 pumps and a squirt. I'm just being honest. It can still happen that way. So I think it's more of a preference. It's just like some people like curvy bodies, some people don't like curvy bodies, some people like thin people, some people like thicker people. I think it's all a preference, and we all have an assumption in our mind. I didn't like small or thin guys initially. Right? I was like, oh, they won't be able to handle, they won't be able to take whatever. And then I had an experience with the thin guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I counted this out. Like, why did I do that? So, it's really, I think, a preference, but also the stereotypes or the assumptions are oftentimes not true. We can sit here saying being fit or being thin is like the preference, but BBWs is the number one viewed porn in the whole entire world. Why is that? So people's fantasies and what they really truly desire may not match the partner they got at home. That's what that tells me. If we're preaching, fitness is this and you got to be this size or that size, but let alone BBW porn is the number one watched porn in the whole entire world. So there's somebody out there for everybody. And I say, if you're a gym geek or somebody that's real big on fitness and food and being in shape, then maybe you want to get a partner that's really into that as well. Again, compatibility, right? You go to the gym all the time, being with a partner that never hits the gym, not going to be compatible. Y'all going to bump heads in that. So I think it's more of a preference than a bona fide scientific fact, because I know some very large body folks that have some amazing sex, and it has not stopped them or slowed them down at all.
Thank you for coming in with that. I actually agree with you. Tisha Braid says, this is what I'm looking for: friendship and communication, knowing that sex and intimacy come side by side, and it will come. But the men are so on the sex part. And this is, I think, if you are able to communicate with your partner or the person that you're with, if you don't call them a partner, you can communicate at a level where you can start to discover each other. Initially, I didn't know about tantric sex. I didn't know about it at all. I just know the games I used to play. And the games I used to play would be to withhold. I didn't know it was a thing, but it's a beautiful thing. And I realised as I've got older how beautiful that can be when you abstain. But it kind of, you have to have that communication. I think the communication is the key, just to bring it back to what Tisha was saying. And I think that a lot of us, we focus on the material, the outside. Oh, the person's got to be this, or the person's got to be that, or the person's got to look a certain way. But I think when you connect with somebody mentally, I think it's far more powerful. Yes, there is that attraction, and I'll just give one scenario because we're running out of time now. I was seeing this guy, and he was so hot. He was so pretty. He was gorgeous, beautiful body, beautiful face, no personality. Amazing looking guy, and I was so like into this guy. And the sex was all right. It was all right. It weren't great. It was just all right. And I say that to say that the intention of this guy, you know, on paper was great. He looked pretty, you know, fit, bodies, gym, sturdy body, able to pick me up and do all sorts of stuff, but actually had no personality. So there was no connection spiritually. There was no connection mentally. And it showed me, that relationship showed me that actually my wants and my needs are far greater than what the external is like. So I want to challenge those who are single today. I want to challenge those who are single to not dismiss the ones that don't necessarily tick the box that you may have in terms of external look. I want you to go a bit deeper and get to know the person, get to know the mind first before you dismiss them. And that's
Bring
it.
them on the show.
Yeah, and you know, come on the show. Come, you know, but you would have to contact the show. You would have to. Thanks for that, Tony. You would have to come on the show. You'd have to contact us and say, right, I've been dating a guy that I'm not actually physically attracted to, but we are getting on so well. The relationship is great. Blah 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 blah. Or if you are a male, and I'm going to put it out to the males, and you are single, and you are serious about finding a partner, finding somebody to be compatible with, I want you to contact me. And we're going to find some females for you to choose from. You can, you know, there'll be and you can go out on a date, whatever, start speaking to them, and let's see. But there is, we'll put one stipulation: there is no sex, there's no intercourse in your getting to know each other. You will have to abstain from intercourse, and that's a stipulation. If you are up for the challenge, you can contact me, info@yvonnemichelle.com. Easy, info@yvonnemichelle.com. And if you forget that, just go onto my website and schedule in an appointment, and we can discuss it and talk about it. Because I think that we're at a place now where we really want to be meeting people. And as the UK government has said, if you have to have the people in your bubble, 6 people in your bubble. So there are lots of single women who don't want to go back into lockdown without having somebody to at least talk to.
And it's cupping season.
And it's cupping season, is it? Well, the cold nights are coming in, you know. So that now is the time. So guys, don't be shy. And I'm putting it out to the guys because we have more single females here in this cohort, and there's many on the thread as well, on the Facebook, on YouTube. There are many single women, and we are talking single women globally. So I'm saying to you, you can be in the UK, you could be in America, you could be even as far as Indonesia, because that's how far the show has gone, because I've got an Indonesian person who listens and watches the show. So if that's you and you want to connect with somebody on a spiritual level, on a higher level, not a sexual level per se, that will come. then you need to contact the show. We have the last 10 minutes of the show. So I'm just going to go around and say and find out what each panel member has got from the show. I think we're probably going to actually carry on with this because we haven't deep dived into the sexuality, spiritual sexuality next week. And we will have Fidel as well, who had the 21-day retreat, so Tantra retreat that he was on. So I think it will be good to continue this conversation next week. So I'm gonna put Sheena on the spot. Sheena, my darling, you have the conversations that have gone on this evening. But what's your takeaway from tonight?
What's my takeaway from tonight? Each to their own, really. Everyone has their own way, or they have their own things that they like, or that they enjoy doing. For me, it's about self-love as well. In order for me to have good tantric sex, I need to love myself as well. So yeah, I love me, and it's something that I enjoy, but it's I think for me as well, it's something that I want to explore more, because I think that's actually a good that is a good part of the relationship as well, to have tantra sex as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Sheena. I think next week what we'll probably do is have the experts first, giving us some
So I didn't
tips.
catch that.
I'm saying next week what we will probably do is have the experts in first. Lots of scratching going on. Okay, so we'll have the experts in first, and then the rest of the panel will come in, so we can get some insights into what it really is, what it really takes, what the practices are. Because as Chastity said, there's meditation involved in it. You know, it's not
That's
just
what I've
about
looked at. Is there's meditation, the breathing side of it as well. You know, it's all about the mindset, isn't it? So I'm still learning more and more things about it for ourselves as well in our relationship. So yeah, it's that spiritual growth between, you know, yourself and your significant other. Yeah, and being in tune with each other as well. Because I mean, you've got to be on the same path. You can't have one that's on a different path, on a different journey. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I must be doing something right, because I've been in the same relationship for 17 years. So I must be doing something right. So yeah. So I'm quite open to trying different things just to nurture the relationship and just grow.
Right. This is brilliant.
And have fun at the same time.
I thank you for your openness and, you know, for being so open and being here today and telling us how, you know, what you're learning from the show. But also just want to say, for those of you who are married, those of you who are in relationships, and those of you who are not, do join us next week, because our therapists are going to just give us some tools, some tips at the beginning of the show. And then we're going to bring in the panel after. So we're going to make it so it's about, so we're actually learning the intricacies of tantric sex, meditation, and all that it takes to build the relationship. Because what we want is relationships to grow. We know that there is a massive kind of culling right now of relationships. I don't know what it's like in the US, Chastity, but certainly in the UK, many relationships are breaking down throughout this lockdown period. People are just splitting up, and it's, you know, they're struggling.
Absolutely. There are a lot of people who are miserably married. Like, this is what I see all the time. Miserably married, haven't been happy for years, decades. And so you were able to escape when you had to go to work, when you had to be outside of the house. Now we stuck in the house with each other all day long, with the kids running around and all of that. I love you, but I don't even like you, and now I'm stuck with you. Yeah, divorce rates are higher. People are trying to get a divorce. It's a longer process right now. But I think you're really figuring out who your partner really is right now. That's the catch. because there's no way to pretend. There's no way to pack it away. You got to show up every day as such. And so I think this pandemic is really just showing the true colors of folks. Not that it's breaking people up. People are realizing we didn't have anything left. Well, everybody, people are dying around us mysteriously or rapidly. Why am I wasting my time in this relationship that I haven't been happy in?
So this thing could actually be worldwide. Tony, you're going to come in. You're going to give your last couple. We've got 5 minutes left, so you've all got like less than a minute each.
So yeah, I have a question actually to anybody who's practicing tantric. Is there a book which one can acquire via, for instance, Amazon, to give you some ideas and you can, practice some of the things that we're discussing here today? How did you guys get into it in terms of educating yourself in the various techniques?
For me, it started with the chakras, recognizing that my root chakras was closed. That's where I started my journey in understanding the tantric and actually doing those certain other practices to men as well, which had great outcomes.
What's the other practices? Can you not say it?
Well, no. Well, it's the tantric massage, isn't it?
Okay, but is there a book? Sorry, is there a book that
I've done stuff online. There's lots of stuff on YouTube and things like that. So that's where I started it. I will send you a link of the chakra root, and they had some other links for reading as well. And there's also blogs. I'll find some stuff and I'll pop it in the feed.
Cool.
Okay, yeah. If you put it in the Facebook, and then we'll put it into the YouTube link as well. So and in the group as well, for the panel members, that would be great. Michelle and Herbie, your 1 minute, half a minute learning.
For me, I feel that it's all about communication. As Chastity's saying, talking all the time. And sometimes it's not always comfortable, but you have to talk it, because if you don't talk it, you won't know it. Do you know what I mean? So you just talk it out. So for me, it's the communication, and long may that continue.
Herbie?
I agree with that. As Michelle said, sometimes it's not comfortable. It's not what you want to hear. And sometimes, I generalize as men, sometimes you just want to do what you need to do, and you don't really want to hear the no, we don't want to hear this and that. But you've got to be sensitive and be emotionally in touch with your partner to know that it's not
every day.
It's not every day, as Michelle would say. It's not every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, okay.
Every day. Okay. Theo. Oh, thank you guys. So, Theo.
My takeaway is just to keep talking. And as Herbie and Michelle say, just communicating on a different level with my wife. Just keep talking and keep tapping into her emotional side. As women are more emotionally in tune than men are. And as Herbie said, sometimes you just want to get it on. So it's about being a bit more sensitive and understanding, which is something that you learn every day. Even though we've been together a long time, it's still something it's still a learning process, no matter what. You never know everything, because she doesn't know everything. So she's learning, as Chastity said earlier, women are still learning as they get older, because they develop later, they sexually heighten later on. So they're getting in tune with their bodies. So it's about being a bit more understanding sometimes, and a bit more, taking her on board, and keep doing that.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you for that. I think Chastity's put a link for book on the thread as well. So thanks for that. So is that your book, Chastity?
No, this one isn't mine. I have a couple out, but this one isn't mine. But when Tony asked, I just went and grabbed what I could grab real quick. There's tons of books out there, and there's things that you can learn more about. If you're looking to learn more about pleasure, this one is a really good one. Pleasure activism.
Mhm.
If you're wanting to know more about conscious love, this one's a really good one. Conscious loving, and these folks have several books. If you're looking to learn about polyamory and consensual non-monogamy, this one's a great read. More than two.
Mhm.
And this one is for us women, and this really is just talking more about a guide to healing. So one of the main important parts with cosmic sexuality and tantric sex is inner healing, and that's the part in the piece that people don't talk about. So again, when I say doing that individual work, that's what I mean. You got to have that inner healing before you can really truly tap into the full potential of what that, because this is other level type stuff sexually. This is not your regular sex. So you gotta, in order to get there, and we keep throwing around the word spiritually, but in order to even get to that place spiritually, you got to do some healing, which means you got to identify some stuff that you still need to work on. And majority of us around here acting like our stuff don't stink and we got it all together. So you want to be open to doing the work that's necessary to get to the place that you say you want to go. But these were just the ones I could grab real quick. But there are more as well. And I also say, try to make sure you're grabbing and getting books that are geared towards Black and brown folks, because a lot of this other stuff it doesn't speak to us and our culture and our background, so it really gonna miss the mark as far as helping us to get where we want to get. So the link that I put is a Black owned business. It's actually the school that I'm going to get the cosmic sexuality training through, but the book is talking about sex on a different level.
Thank you for. You can put
Thank
those
you,
links
Chastity.
in comments.
As you can tell behind me, I'm very much.
You
a
gotta
book
read my
person.
book, Tony. My last one, Sex After Divorce.
I need
Been there,
that.
done that,
I
and
need-
had the
I
orgasm
need
to
that.
prove it. You read it?
You put those books in the comments. Send them to me so that we can publicize them as well as we go along. So we're doing a live on Instagram on Friday. Tony, if you are free, I'd like you to join me. Thea, if you are free, I'd like you to join me. We may have to bounce in and out, but I wanted to do this live with a man. We're still talking about sexuality, but it's on Instagram, so we're limited for time, and that will be on Friday. We're going to be doing that. So if you are free, that would be great. Both of you, if you're free. So if you could just put those comments in and send those to me privately so that I can put those out as well. Okay, so who has spoken? Theo has spoken. Tony has spoken. Ruth, have you spoken?
Yes, I've grown through this point. You know, this is the right time to be talking about the spirituality thing. I dropped off the online dating weeks ago because I recognise this same thing that we're talking about now. So, definitely looking for the new coming in, but in the meantime, working on me.
Okay. Well,
Just a quick one, Yvonne. Are we still hopefully planning to get the women and the guys from my men's group together next week potentially?
Yes, we are. Can we do
That'd be great.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah.
All right. We can talk that after. Stay on, and we can work that out after the show. We are actually over time, but has everybody given their insights of what they've got from the show? Right. Well, we've come to the end of the show. I think that my takeaways for tonight is that communication is key. I think that we are still looking for the superficial and not maybe focusing on the more deeper things that we need to look for in partnership, in relationships. And I would like us as the older generation, as the seniors, as we're coming up to senior years, a lot of us are. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to face it, but we have to realize that we have more years behind us, maybe, than what we have ahead of us. And so we have to start to rethink about how we do things and our relationships. How important is having a long-lasting relationship to you? Do you really want to be with somebody? And we have to get rid of the fear, because there are a lot of people living in fear right now of relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship. Oh, I can't be bothered. All of these things, all of these words that we're using is really just a mask to say that we're scared. And so I think that now we have these other realms that we can jump into. And I think now is the time to explore. Now is the time for us to grow. And now is the time for us to really come together and build those long-lasting relationships that are going to be worthy of us, worthy of the person that you're with. So I want to thank everybody that's taken part. I want to thank you for all of your comments tonight. It has been a great show. Next week, we're going to start off with the sex therapist, and they're going to be giving us some insight and maybe some tools and some techniques that we can take away. Then we're going to bring in the panel, and then the following week, we are going to be in the studio, and we are going to be looking at the toys. I think the toys needs to be left to the end. All that excitement, all of that, all the endorphins, testosterone, estrogen, all of those things that are going around in the body. We're going to leave that till the last one of the sex shows. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. I do hope that you got something from today. And I just pray that you will be more open in your sexuality. You'll be more open in your spirituality to receive and to grow those relationships that you really want and you really desire in your heart of hearts. And I really hope that you find that. So those of you who are single men, stop being shy, start standing out, be bold, be fearless, be yourself and go for it. Single ladies, don't give the men too much of a hard time. If you're not interested, say you're not interested, but don't be rude, don't be callous, be pleasant and just say, not today, darling. And then when the right one comes along, the right one will come along. Be open and be present in the now. That is my advice, and that's what I take from tonight. So this is your girl Yvonne Michelle. This is the After Dark show. It is the relationship show that everybody is talking about. And so we will see you here again next week between the hours of 10 and 12. I want our panel members to say good night.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. God bless you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Take care. God bless you.
Good night,
Stay safe.
Tina.
Night, Sheena.
Good night.
Tony,
Good night.
Cassidy.
You ready? You got me running, got me running. Take